Hi guys, Long White Mane here again. This is the channel where if you can grow your hair down to your butt, you'll never have a bad hair day, except if it's windy. I had to make that exception the other day. Okay, um, this video is on trolling, and I got this idea from Faith. I link her channel at the end of my videos. Faith is one of the warmest, cutest, funniest people I have ever encountered on the YouTube channels. The other one is NOSY HAUSFRAU. That woman is a scream. She is so funny, and I will try to link her at the end. If not, I'll put her channel down below in the information section. Anyway, I got this idea because Faith, like me, she's a big woman, and she has done a wonderful job keeping her weight off. She was like 300 pounds. She lost a bunch of it. And like me, she's never just going to be stick thin, you know. Doesn't happen for some of us. Our bodies are our bodies. And unfortunately, there's fat shaming, there's makeup shaming, there's, you know, all kinds of things. So I kind of thought, you know, what, what, what compels people to do this, you know? And I'll share with you one of the worst times I ever got trolled. I had watched The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. And I watched it not because of Cruise, but because I am crazy about the Japanese culture. I love everything about it. I was raised in a Japanese community in LA, where I'm from originally. And I love the food. I love the culture. Geishas. You know, there's things I don't like about it, like their continued whaling under the pretense of experimentation and research, but that's another video. Anyway, so I posted a review of this movie. There was something I didn't care for in it, and this guy comes on and he's calling me all kind of names. Now you got to understand, Long White Mane has skin like a rhino. I know what I am, I know what I'm not, and you know, it really didn't bother me, but I thought, you know, this is going to be fun. So I just slammed a guy. It's like, have you ever talked to a Japanese person at all? No, I don't need to. I said, have you talked to the Issei, which are the first generation that immigrate to another country, the Nisei, the second generation, or even the Sansei, the third generation, the grandchildren of the Issei? Have you talked to a single person who was disenfranchised by the military in World War II and shipped off to concentration camps in California, Utah, and other places? Have you talked to those people? Do you know anything about the Japanese culture and their battles? And, you know, he finally shut up after, you know, God, it must have been 40 different posts. We went out and we were going at each other. And when he finally shut up, you know, I was waiting for his next comment. Well, what happened was this random guy posted at the end and he goes, dude, you got owned. You may not find that funny. I find it hysterical. A little knowledge goes a long way, y'all. And don't, you know. Anyway, so I thought I would kind of find out. I realize this is not mental illness, but I kind of pictured trolls as those 40-year-old loser guys that are in their basement and, you know, may or may not be wearing a tinfoil hat. They don't have anything good to say about anybody else. Maybe they're depressed. You know, I don't know. I just had this weird picture. And I found a study by Stanford University. Pretty heady stuff here. And what they did was they thought, you know, let's find out what trolls are. Who are they? What, you know, what are they? Why are they doing it? What are they doing it? Okay, so in 2017, Stanford did this study for the 2017 Conference on Computer-Supported Cooperative Work and Social Computing. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but I'm sure this study applied very well to this conference. And so what they did was they found, you know, in the basic boiler point of the study, but they said that under the right circumstances, any one of us could be a troll. Me, you. people we think of as very nice people, in the society, nurses, doctors, lawyers, rescue workers, nurses, I said nurses, rescue workers, things like that, people that contribute to the community or whatever. It could be anybody. And so what they did was they did a study with 667 people participated in this study. And what they did, they initially gave these people either a hard test or an easy test. And after they completed these tests, the people were then evaluated as far as their mood. And it's pretty, obvious that people who took the harder test were in the worst moods, and it included anger, fatigue, depression, and tension. And obviously, they were in the worst mood than the easy test people. Okay, so what they did was they developed an article, and some people at the end of the article were given troll comments, others neutral comments. And what happened, what the instructions were: read the article, and you must leave at what you must leave at what at you must leave at least one comment. You could do multiple comments, vote up, vote down, reply to other comments. It was just like a news, any kind of news article that you find online with, the news websites. And let me see my notes here. I'm sorry. Okay, so I told you that. Okay, so after they did their little comments and stuff, they got two independent experts to come in to determine which comments were actually trolling, which were neutral, which were nice, that kind of thing. So they made sure that their data was solid, really solid. Now check these numbers out. The result of the study was that 35% of the people who completed the easy test and saw neutral post troll comments of their own. That percentage jumped to 50% to the hard test people, and if they saw trolling comments, they would pitch in with their own troll comments. And then people exposed to both the difficult test and the troll comments jumped to 68%. Well, what does that all mean? How does that relate to the real world? That's a controlled study. Okay, data's all nice, but how does it relate? Well, researchers analyzed 2012 comment section from CNN, and it was huge. They did over 1 million users, over 200,000 discussions, over 26 million, posts. And they included not only posts that were banned by moderators, people that were banned, they just took it all. And even though they couldn't determine the mood of those people, it was 2012, and you can't contact them, they noticed that there was kind of a timestamp pattern to this. And they noticed that the incidents tend to increase late at night or early in the week, and when people are most likely in a bad mood. And people who had comments that were flagged for abuse were more likely to come back and post more bad comments that would be flagged. There was no cooling off period. And one quote by, and I can't pronounce this name, so forgive me, by Yuri Leskovich, associate professor of computer science at Stanford. He said it's a spiral of negativity. Just one person waking up in a bad mood can create a spark. They put one bad comment, and people just, they just kind of add on to it, and it just becomes, a horrible thing. So there's companies out there that are trying to prevent trolling. Like some people, like there's some news feeds, things like that are doing what they call shadow banning. And they have a computer program that kind of analyzes the words that you use. And if the computer program figures out that, hey, this might not be a good comment, They will shadow ban it, meaning that they won't post it right away. It'll go through a moderator, and it does, it hides that post from non-troll users without notifying the troll. So they're getting pretty sneaky with it, y'all. And they've even come down to an actual time frame where people are most likely to troll. It turns out it's between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. on Sunday and Monday nights. And even Twitter bullying is at its most severe on Sundays between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. And all these, I've linked everything down below here. It's a very interesting study. So it kind of goes back to the old saying, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. I choose to try to live by that. If I see a video on YouTube or the news or whatever and I don't like it, I usually will either have a cooling off, I'll take myself away, because usually what I'm going to say first is not really what I want to say, and it's going to be horrible. So I pull myself back, think about it for an hour or two maybe, and go back and go, okay, now I can say intelligently what I want to say. Now, I've told you the old white mane here has a skin like a rhino. Okay, I don't care what people say to me. I mean, say for example, I've had made a mistake driving, like we all do. I've had somebody, you fat bitch, really? That all you got? I mean, it's like, to me, the Americans are the most uncreative cursors in the planet, but that's another video. But not everybody's like me. Not everybody, is armored like I am. And I'm going to give you 2 articles down below to read to kind of give you an idea of how harmful these trolls are to people. It's not, they don't bother me because I just ignore them, but some people just don't have that ability. They're both articles from the Independent newspaper in the UK, and the reason I went there is because these articles are linked in one of the other articles, and they just kind of prove my point. The first one, the owners of a vegetarian cafe refused to take the new 5-pound note that's been issued because it contains tallow, which is made from beef fat. Now, I'm not a vegetarian or vegan, but I respect their morals as far as using animals. So they decide in their restaurant, which is perfectly fine, not to accept that new note. And these owners, they're in their late 60s. They're just good people. People, who saw the article just slammed them. I mean, according to the article, there's even an incident, where they blew up a picture of them and made fun of the shoes they were wearing, of all things. People are not punching bags. And when you leave a comment at the end of the section, or on YouTube, or on Twitter, or on Instagram, these are real people behind these, social media identities, and they get hurt. It hurts them, okay? Now, I found an article which appalls me to no end, okay? Now, in Britain, I don't know if you know what fox hunting is. A lot of us don't. Fox hunting is the use of horses and dogs to chase a fox down and kill it. And it's pretty brutal, and there's a lot of animal activists that are really fighting the legality and the morality of chasing down a fox and letting the dogs tear it apart. That's pretty much what happens. But there was an article about a 9-year-old girl who was killed while, participating in what's called the Cotswold hunt. And, mind you, it's a little girl, okay? It's a baby. It's a human. She was so sweet. And all these trolls could do was say she deserved it. It was her karma. Horrible things. It's a little girl who died, you nutbags. I mean, let's focus on the reality of the situation. She was killed during the fox hunt, which is, they're dangerous anyway. It's a little girl. And they just they just tore up the parents, they tore up the kid. Just It was horrible. And, you know, so if you get to the point where you find yourself in a bad mood, and if you're bipolar like me, bad moods can happen, uh, try to train yourself to back off. Try to train yourself not to say the first thing you want to say, because these are real people behind these articles and these um, social identity, you know, behind their social identity, they're real people, okay? Um, and that's why I'm just kind of frustrated with the trolls. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much for tolerating me reading from my notes. Sometimes, actually most of the time, I have so much to tell you and share that I have to put it down in my Excel spreadsheet. But I will have all of my articles and sources listed down below if you're interested. I find science fascinating. I am in no way, shape, form a scientist, but there you go. You guys take care, and we'll see you on the flip side.